So I am just to introduce myself. I am Dr. Harish BS. I am basically a professor at the Department of Information Science and Engineering, JS Science and Technology University. Previously, it is also called as Sri Jai Chamarajendra College of Engineering, which is very popularly known as SJCE, Mysore. So I basically offer some of the courses on the artificial intelligence, then the machine learning approaches, and I don't, give much, elaborate introduction about myself. If you are more interested to know about myself, you can just go to Google and type BS Harish, B for Bangalore, S for Singapore, Harish, Harish, and it will take you to my personal website as well as my official website as well as the Google Scholar citation portal, where you can see some of my areas of working and some of my research scholars who have already completed their PhD works in the different domains of computer science, and some of who are working presently in the different domains. And also you can see some of the publications that we have done, and more or less most of the publications that whatever we have done with my team are made available in the ResearchGate with a prior permission from the various publisher. So you can just if you type BS Harish, it will also take to my ResearchGate profile. You can just if you found interesting, you can download my research articles and you can go through it. So this is all about myself. Also on the other side, I would like to know that what are the different domains that the different participants are working on, and also I wanted to know that anybody is from outside Karnataka state. So since it is a short-term course, I think it is the program specific, or there are different professors who comes from the different domains. Anyone can answer.
Different domains, sir.
From different domains.
Okay, from different domains. Can I know the domains?
Yeah, commerce and management.
Sorry?
Dr. Lakshmi.
Dr. Lakshmi from?
From commerce and management.
Okay, commerce and management. Okay, that's great.
Dr. Vaniyam, education.
Dr. Vaniyam, education. Very nice.
Sunita AJ, education.
Okay, very nice. Education. And
Nishant TN, education.
Okay, education. Then Dr.
Library and Information Science.
Okay, library information science. I think that's one of the very interesting domain to work on. Then
Krishna, economics.
Okay, economics. Yeah, that's a great discipline to work on. Economics. So anybody is from computer science specifically?
Yes, sir. Kausar from computer science.
Sorry?
Kausar here.
Dr. Kausar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Kausar, you are from University of Mysore.
Yes, sir.
Where from University of Mysore? Oh, since the video is not switched on, so I couldn't recognize you. I'm sorry. Dr. Kausar
I'm traveling to college, sir. In another 5 minutes, I'll sit and
you are traveling. Okay. So then anybody is from the psychology domain?
So Mahima Jyoti from Department of Chemistry.
Mahima Jyoti. That's great, madam. Dr. Mahima. Anybody is from psychology, Department of Psychology?
Sir, Dr. Saida Banullah, Geography.
From?
Geography, sir.
Geography. Okay. Geography.
Sir, Nagana Kelare.
Okay. Sorry?
Subject Kannada, sir.
Okay, language. Okay, you are from language. That's great. That's great. Okay, so anybody is from outside Karnataka? outside Karnataka, I don't think so. Anybody is from outside Karnataka. Okay. So just to begin with, see, this is the great advantage of how we can really make use of the technology to the best extent. Previously, when we used to engage these kind of sessions at the HRDC center, it was only a physical, classes that we used to engage, and you people used to travel from your different place, leaving your, kids, your husband, as well as your home, right? So at least for weeks of time or 2 weeks of time, and then you were supposed to attend all the classes, right? So you were supposed to involve in many of the seminars, and then submission of an assignment, then the evaluation, and then the certificates will be awarded, right? So, but there were a lot of issues that were related, right? So, especially in attending the physical classes, right? So, because especially for the ladies community, right? So, it's a great challenge, especially to leave the family for weeks of time or 2 weeks of time and come all the over from the different place of Karnataka and engage in these kind of session. But these are all very important sessions that we need to attend, right? So that we need to attend in our career, right? So which will be helpful for our career progression, or which helps us to improvise ourselves and to know that what is exactly happening in the different domains, right? So in the different domains, right? So the beauty of these technology is something very interesting, right? So this is the beauty of the technology, right? So see, I'm sitting at just next to, besides to the UGC-HRDC center, because my campus is located very next to the Mansa Gangotri campus, and I'm sitting and I'm delivering the session, and more or less everybody seems to be very relaxed, sitting at your place, sitting at your home, and somebody is traveling from one place to another place, right? So just using the earphones, switching off the video, and they are attending the sessions, and some of the participants, it's just on the lighter sides, right? So they are, they are involved and doing their own, jobs. Either it could be something, their academic assignments, or something their personal assignments. But more or less, everybody is relaxed, right? So, and not traveled from any different place, and you are sitting and just enjoying the different sessions that are given by the different sets of resource person. So this is the beauty of the information technology, right? So, but in the meantime, right? So in the meantime, you have many limitations, right? So in the meantime, you have many limitations, right? So which really has to be taken care to the best extent, right? So as I already said, right, so many of the participants, because whereas in the physical classes it is so stringent, right? So it is so stringent because I have given many of the sessions, especially at the HRDC, the time and even the breaks, right? So are very punctually maintained, highly disciplined kind of sessions that used to have, right? So, but on the other side, when I was talking about the disadvantages, right? So as such, there is no any restriction, right? So for you people to get involved in the involved in these kind of an online sessions, right? So because first and foremost thing is you are at your own place. Either it could be your home, or either it could be your working office, and you're doing your own job, right? So some participants may be interested in listening what is happening, or some participants, they just turned off the video, and they are doing their own assignments. So these are all some of the limitations, but that we need not to debate or deliberate, right? So which is good and which is right. But being an educators, we'll just try to see what could be the best advantages that we can take off, right? So with that, whatever the sessions that you are attending, because you are spending almost a solid 2 hours 30 minutes, right? So which is of almost nearly 150 minutes, right? So which is very crucial, right? So, and at the end of the day or at the end of the session, at least we should be in a position to understand that this is what actually we have learned for the day, right? So, in that sense, today a topic has been given to me, right? So, to speak something about a very interesting technology, I can say, very interesting technology, I can say, or a very interesting, a very interesting, very interesting topic, right? So that is debated, right? So in most of the engineering disciplines or in most of the computer science fields, but it's not only the field of computer science, but it is also it is in the field of it is not also it's not only in the field of computer science, but it is also in the different fields, right? So it could be the field of education, it could be field of language, right? So it could be field of commerce, right? So which is playing a very crucial role. It could be in the field of library science, once again, which is playing a very crucial role, right? So in that sense, this particular topic, right? So a topic which I'll be discussing for another rest of the time will be something about on this big data analytics and the cloud computing. Right. So they are the two different domains, the big data analytics and the cloud computing. Right. So we'll try to see very fundamentals and basics of what is this big data analytics and what is this cloud computing, and why the name called big data and why the name called data analytics, and how these data analytics can be taken care, right? So how these data analytics can be taken care to handle these big data, right? So which becomes the big data analytics, and how the cloud computing comes into picture. What is basically a cloud? Why the word called computing? I think everybody knows what is basically a computing, right? So how these things can be used to your domains. Either it could be library science, or it could be the language, or either it could be chemistry, or either it could be the Department of Education, right? So how these things can be used to your domain, right? So that is what actually we are going to discuss in depth for not in depth, but more or less just to give an overview of these two important technologies, right? So with this, I just wanted to mention you that the class should not be an always that we used to say to our students, it should not be an only one-sided. It should be always an interactive, right? So you please try to ask me number of questions. I'll try to solve to the best extent, and also try to look whatever the discussions that we are going to make, right? So such that that will be applied to your domain, right? So if you don't find any opportunities, you please let me know that how these things can be applied to your technology, I mean to your domain, right? So to your domain, and how exactly you can go ahead, right? So with the very interesting and important way of teaching, which is nowadays the UGC has made a mandate called as an interdisciplinary education or interdisciplinary research, right? So this is what actually we are going to discuss for the rest of the time. Okay, just to start with, can anybody tell me what is basically a big data? Or can anybody tell what is basically a data? What is basically a data is all about? What is anyone? What is basically a data?
Raw material, sir.
Raw material. Okay.
Collection of raw facts.
The details collected. Details collected for a particular concept or.
Okay.
Sir,
Okay.
quality,
of information.
Sorry.
qualitative or quantitative materials needed for our experiment or
Okay.
research.
Yeah. Basically, they are not materials, but we are still talking at the lower level, right? So which is data, right? So we agree that there are two types of data: quantitative data and the qualitative data. But we need not to call it as materials, right? So, but we'll call with some other name, right? So I'll just tell you in the next minute. Dr. Saida, you were telling something.
Sir, collection of information.
Okay, brilliant answer. Right. So you are from which discipline?
Geography, sir.
Okay, you're from geography.
That's
Right. So I think that's a good answer. Right. So collection of information. So what is the difference between the information and the data now? That's the important thing. Right. So now if I just show this object, can you just tell me what is this basically? What is this?
Writing
Pen.
instruments. Writing instrument.
Writing instrument.
Ah.
Why you are making? Who is that? Can I know the name, sir? Please.
Yes, sir. Kariguli Government First Grade College, Gangavati.
Ah, very nice, sir. Why are you making so complex? Why you want to call it as writing material?
It's an object.
It's
No,
an
sir.
object.
No, sir. Why? Because you asked a question, a very simple thing in a different way, no, sir. So I tried to give it in a
No,
different way.
I just want to know what is this basically.
Normally, it's a pen. Pen.
It's a pen. That is more than enough, right? So this is basically a pen. So somebody said this is an object. Yes, this is basically an object. Right. So on what basis we are calling this as a pen? There are certain characteristics that lies in this particular object. Right. So for example, there is a cap here. Yes or no? There is a cap here and there is a nib here. Right. So point here, there is a refill here. And if I write something on the board or the book, right? So we can see some contents could be written. So all these characteristics, right? So all these characteristics are making to call this object as a pen. Yes or no, sir?
Yes, sir.
Right. So can I just ask you what is this basically?
Pencil.
This is basically pencil. Right. So can you call this? Now you tell me what is this?
Pencil with a pen cap.
Right. So see, the nomenclature is getting changed. Right. So the nomenclature is getting changed, but it is still a pencil. Right. So
Yeah.
if you insert a pen, right. So if you insert a cap, otherwise, if you would have not shown this particular object to you, right. So before that, if I would have asked this question, right. So you would have answered this also as a pen. Right. So except there is a presence of eraser at the back end. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. So that is how actually our perception changes on the data. Right. So that is how actually our visualization changes according to the different types of data. Right. So now we need to differentiate between what is a data and what is basically an information. Right. So an information, many informations are put together to make it as an data. For example, if you take the pen itself, right. So you have a cap, right. So you have a cap, you have a refill here. Right. So, and if you write something on the book, it writes something, right? So it writes something, and then once you are done with that, right? So you can close that, right? So then all these things can be, all this information can be considered to call it as the pen, right? So otherwise, if you use an eraser and if you try to rub that particular erase that particular content, right? So it does not get erased. Why? Because you have written that in a pen, right? So you have written that in a pen. But similarly, if you take the pencil and write the content, and if it is erased, right? So it will get erased, right? So this is how actually we fundamentally differentiate between the different sets of the objects, different sets of the different sets of the data, right? So and the information. Data is basically the entire thing that what we are going to see, right? So what we are going to see. The information is something which we try to explore the content that is present in the data, right? So the content that is present in the data, right? So then you need to clearly, you should be in a position to differentiate between what is basically an data and what is basically an information, right? So now we are done with what is basically an data. So now can you tell me why it is called as a big data? Because our today's topic is basically a big data. Anybody can tell why it is big data? Why that word big?
The huge amount of data is collected.
Huge amount means so much of this, sir. How do you quantify that?
Yeah, so we can't quantify in infinitum. So such data is called as a big
Sir,
data.
as such, in the field of computer science, there is no concept of infinite because machines cannot handle infinite data. In the
Okay.
entire domain of computer science, right? So you cannot, say that anything is infinite
No,
because
sir,
the
device has the limitation, but I think big data has no limitation. I think so.
okay. So any other answers? Why it is called as a big data?
It is the extremely large data collected.
Dr. Punita,
Yes, sir.
it is extremely large. How do you define extremely large? In what sense?
It includes all types of data that is relevant to the study area.
Okay, extremely large means you define what is extremely large. When do you say your data is extremely large?
For example, you gave an example of a pen.
Hmm.
I don't know whether I'm correct or not, but I'm just trying to answer. You just gave us the example of pen. Okay. Pen means it may be when was it invented, before that, how they used. So the background of the history of that, from there, if we get all the things from the background, from the history and all, so it is called as extreme or big data. Mean to say, whatever the originality of the pen, the basic thing, how they invented, who invented, so the process and the steps, how it came till here, the lead, the pen, the structure of that, the idea of that.
Okay. Okay. So you mean to say the different information put together, it is making an big data. For example, if I ask Dr. Vani ma'am, Vani madam is reading a newspaper. Okay, so can you just tell me, Vani madam, whether your newspaper basically contains a big data?
Yes, sir, I think so.
Sir, about different informations.
No. The whatever the newspaper that you are reading, you say that information that the data that whatever you are going to get from that today's newspaper is considered to be a big data?
No, sir.
No.
Then when are we going to say that it is a big data?
Sir, big data when we can present in a different variety, sir.
Who is that? Dr.
Karigudi, sir.
Karigudi. That's a great answer, sir. That's one of the very interesting answer. So you just underline a word called, what is that? Come again, please. Dr. Karigudi?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please once again repeat your answer.
Sir, any data or information which we can present in a many different possible ways is
very
called
nice. Very nice. That's it, sir. Right. You mean to say the data that is presented in a variety.
Varieties. Yes.
Varieties. That's the great answer. One word. Okay, variety. Then. Okay, so we'll come back to that, Dr. Karigudi, sir. Okay. So variety is a very interesting word. Otherwise, any other answer that you can give, Dr. Prakash? Dr. Prakash?
Yes, sir. So multi-dimensional.
That's really great answer. Multi-dimensional. See, you know everything, but you need some kind of a motivation, right? So just to open up the mic and speak, right? So multi-dimension, right? So you're trying to visualize the data from the multiple dimensions. Okay. So if I just try to combine the varieties and the multi-dimension, you're trying to visualize the data in a varieties way, right? So in a variety way or from the multiple dimension, right? So from the multiple dimensions. So that's a great answer. Okay, so we just try to keep this big later to the later time of discussion. Then there is another last word which is left out for this session, which is called as an analytics. I think analytics you might be knowing everyone, right? So what is analytics? How can you define analytics? How can you define analytics? The word analytics. Come on, it's a very I want only the dictionary meaning. I don't require really a computer science definition for that. Any word, any definition.
Sir, analysis means a kind of explanation, but analytics means some type of statistical presentations, I think so.
Absolutely right, sir. You're from language, right?
No, sir. Commerce faculty.
Very nice. Excellent answer, sir. Do you teach anything that is related to computer science?
No, sir. Recently, they have recommended a business analytics paper, sir. Some other teacher
That's
is teaching
really
it.
nice. That is the hot cake, sir. Presently, even in my university, we are starting that a new MBA course on the business analytics and the cyber security, which is a very hot cake. The present
Yes,
requirement for the day, especially for the MBA students.
Yes,
And
sir.
for the
Initially, we started explaining. Later, we started analyzing. Today, we are doing analytics, sir.
excellent. Analytics is nothing but you are going to do the analysis along with the computations, right? So along with the computations, for example, if you just take 2 days of 2 days of scenario, that is what is happening especially in the Chennai and the Andhra Pradesh coastal because of Maichung cyclone. I think it was predicted a week back, right? So it was predicted a week back that there will be a cyclone, right? So which can approach the different part of coastal region, and what could be the impact that it create, and what would be the speed that it hits or it takes during the landfall, right? So everything is predicted. How it is possible?
Sir, I am observing these predictions, sir. Earlier, there were 90% they were right. In these days, it 99.99 they are right, sir.
Yes, you're absolutely right, because that is how the analytics is playing a very, very critical role. I think that is one example. I think the another example, I think you might have read in the newspapers, right? So just 2 days back newspaper, when this four state election results were announced, right? So I think you might have, in the next day you might have seen there is a huge increase in the stock prices. Have you seen that?
Yes, sir.
Did you able to read that news?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is the relatedness that exists? Right. So one party winning 3 states, and the business that is going on, especially in the stock exchanges, either it could be in the Bombay or it could be on the international stock exchanges. Is there any kind of a relatedness that exists? Yes. That relatedness is computed through this kind of an analytics. So what do we do in these sessions? So we take a data, right? So we take a data, but unfortunately we are not going to take a data which is considered to be a small, a data which is considered to be a big. When do we say big, right? So I try to define what is big, because one characteristics of the big data is already given by Dr. Kariguli, right? So variety. And Dr. Prakash is also given another very interesting word called multidimensional. We'll try to make use of this. Along with this, another 2 or 3 characteristics are there. And then we'll try to discuss what is basically an analytics, right? So what is basically an analytics and how this analytics can be used, right? So this is all actually we are going to discuss for the coming next sessions. So, are you interested in watching any videos, Dr. Kausar? I think you might have seen this. Why Dr. Kausar? Dr. Kausar and myself, we both are from the same lab, so that is why I know Dr. Kausar. We both are from the University of Mysore. Dr. Kausar might have seen this video, but anybody is interested in seeing one of the very interesting video, I'll just if you are okay with that, I'll try to present. Probably it is for 4 minutes of video, but you can really appreciate, right? So you can really appreciate what is the level of technology that is going on and why we are really struggling, right? So why we are really struggling, especially to handle this kind of data and trying to come out with an analytics algorithm. With your permission, can I share that video?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see the video, Dr. Kausar?
Yes, sir. The screen is visible.
Visible, but I have not yet played. I'll play now.
Yes, sir. It's not playing still.
Now?
Yes, sir. It's playing. Sir, no audio in this.
Sorry?
Audio, sir.
No
Sir,
audio.
audio.
Audio, I think audio is there, but you are not getting the audio?
No, sir.
Okay, just okay. So I think yes, there was some audio issues, right? So most probably Probably I'll share this video to everyone maybe after the session. So there was a last question that was left out, right? So asking a reply from your side that what exactly it means, right? So what exactly it means? See, the number of technology that is improvising, the number of technology that are getting into the market, the number of data that we are using in the present day, right? So it's all so much of data, right? So but at the end of the day, right? So at the end of the day, right? So where do we really go in order to maintain and manage this data, right? So this is what actually the one of the biggest question that we are supposed to answer, right? So now if I give you a question, right? So saying that if I give you an assignment saying that you define something dash and dash, right? So what is the first thing that we'll do? What is the first thing that we'll do, right? So suppose if I give a question saying that please explain what is big data, what is the first thing that we all do? This is true with even present, I mean the most of the present generation will do the same thing. What is the first thing that we'll do?
Try to understand the words.
Okay, so try to understand the word. I think Dr. Kausar is still, in the very conventional mode of answering the things. Okay, so otherwise, any other good answer, Dr. Itagi?
Clarify the concept, sir.
Okay, clarify the concept. Okay. Dr. Neetaraj, can you? What is the first thing that we'll do as soon as we'll get a question? For example, define what is basically a big data. Right. So if the same thing is I even ask for the students, right? So what is the first and foremost thing that they'll do?
So think and channelize the information in the brains.
Yeah, think and channelize
the information available in their own brain.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, Dr. Itagi.
Huge data in the sense lot of information collected, sir.
No, my question is very simple, madam. If I give a question, define big data, what is the first and foremost thing that we'll do? Right. So I think there are 4 or 5 answers that already I got. Okay. Dr. Vani, madam, you said something. Okay, Dr. Kavya? Dr. Kavya is here. I can see only your image. Okay, Dr. Prakash?
Opportunity to simplification, sir.
Okay, very nice. Okay. Dr. Bhavana? Dr. Bhavana Wal. Okay, Dr. Rajshekhar, sir? Dr. Rajshekhar, sir, any answer from your side?
The purpose of huge data.
Okay, I'll just tell you the first and foremost thing, right? So including our kids, right? So including our own kids and our students and including us, the first and foremost thing that we do as soon as we get a question, we'll go to Google and we'll type the same question that whatever it has been given by the teacher. Agree or disagree? Tell practically that what kids are doing now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Right,
sir.
so that is the first and foremost thing that they do. Right. So if I give the question, define big data analytics as simply as that whatever the question that is given, right? So just they'll type it in the search bar, right? So and press enter, right? So look for various answers, they'll get it. Right. So define big data. Right. So and you'll get so many number of answers, right? So maybe answer number 1, answer number 2, answer number 3, answer number 4. Right. So but we'll try to write the same answer, but have we spent any time to validate that whatever the answers that we are going to get is right or wrong? Never, right? Never we have done, because we just simply believe the technology, right? So why I'm telling this is because that is the level of dependency on the present days technology, right? So and now, can anybody say, right? So can anybody say that Google has given a reply saying that I don't have an answer for your question?
Yes, sir, I have seen.
Unless otherwise something which is spelling wrong, otherwise which is not at all related. I mean, it is totally irrelevant mismatch
in a very rare
case. Going to formulate. Right. So other than that, anybody has seen
No.
Google saying that I mean, whether it is relevant or irrelevant, that we'll try to discuss at the later stage. But you will get some answer. Yes or no, Dr. Prakash?
Yes.
Sir?
Yeah, yes, sir.
No, sir.
Except some irrelevant, something, sometime only.
Something
some answer,
it will give, sir.
Some answer it will give. Right,
Some
so,
answer there it will give.
Yeah,
Sir.
where does this answer, where does this answer all comes from? Right. So, and nowadays there is another big headache that we are all facing, especially in the field of technology. I think Dr. Kausar is from computer science. I think she is also, feeling that, she is also feeling that heat. It is not only Google is doing that now. Nowadays, that there is another, concept which has come into the literature that is called as ChatGPT. You know ChatGPT?
Yes, sir.
Right. So that is creating another big headache for everyone. Right. So because, sorry, ma'am.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, artificial intelligence, right? So it learns by itself, right? So it learns by itself, irrespective of whatever the size of the data that you handle, you will get some answer, right? So and where exactly this data is all present, that is the biggest thing that we need to answer, right? So that is the biggest thing that we need to answer, right? So yes, in order to answer all these questions, right? So maybe I'll just try to showcase some of the slides that I have prepared, right? So which are very trivial, right? So more or less everybody might have already know these contents or might have seen or heard somewhere else in your experience, just to try to understand in saying what is basically a big data and how exactly it can be defined, right? So I'll just try to share these slide. You please let me know once these slides are visible. Okay, so Dr. Prakash, sir?
We can see the slides.
Thank you so much.
Visible, sir, visible, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Right, so I think now you can see that there are so many different sets of words that you can really express. Right, so sir, one thing that I wanted to tell you is this is a problem that is not faced only by the information technology people or only by the computer science people, but it is the problem that is faced by each and every specialist who works in the different domains. And that too, people who are from language, either it could be from Kannada or either it could be Hindi, Sanskrit, Marathi, Urdu, or whatever the different languages, right? So that you people are specialized and they are the one who are really facing the very biggest problem, especially with this word called big data. Why? Because of so many things, right? So if you just see, there are so many words are interlinked, right? So there is a word called larger, there is a word called complex, there is a word called capacity, there is a word called hundreds, records, database, network, search, parallel, right? So massively, right? So SAN, storage area network, software, ability, size, large, and it goes on. Right, so all this put together, right? So all this put together, right? So you can really, encounter, right? So the various challenges that we are going to face in our day-to-day activities, that how this big data is playing a very important role, right? So this is what actually I'm going to discuss for another next 20-25 minutes of time, right? So before the first break, very fundamentals, the introduction, and then the characteristics of the big data. Right, so and then layered architecture, right? So I'll just explain you why we are going to consider something called the layered architecture or the layered view. Then some of the applications of the big data and the challenges that we are going to see in handling this big data, and how or what are the different technologies that are available, right? So in order to handle this big data, right? So this is what actually we are going to discuss for another 20-25 minutes of time now. Right. So what is big data that we already discussed? What makes data big? Right. So as a data, right. So Karikuli sir has answered variety, Prakash sir has answered multidimensional, right? So and Dr. Kausar has got might have I have got different answers for this, but we'll try to see more formally. Yes, sir.
Sir, by taking our discussed words, I coined one definition, sir.
Yes, sir.
It is like this. Any huge data that can be statistically, mathematically analyzed and presented in a multidimensional varieties.
Great. That is really excellent answer.
Nice, just I defined by taking these words only.
Yeah.
Any huge data that can be statistically, mathematically analyzed and presented in a multi-dimensional varieties.
Very nice. Excellent answer, sir. That is what actually we are going to see maybe in the next coming slide. Right. So see, this is one of the very fundamental definition that is given by Forrester. Right. So saying that it is the frontier of the firm's ability to store, process, and access. Right. So this is what this is what actually some of your friends have already told. Right. So you have data. Right. So you have data, but where to store this data? That is point number one. Right. So you have data, but how to process that data? That is question number two. But you have data, how to access that data? Right. So that is question number three. Right. So these three: store, process, and access. Right. So why we want to do this? Because we need to effectively operate. Right. So we need to effectively operate the data. Right. So which is stored in a very effective way, the data which is processed in a very effective way, the data which can be accessed, right? So at the faster rate, right? So at the faster rate, right? So why we need to do this, right? So the store, the process, and access, because we need to make a quick decisions, right? So we need to make a quick decisions, because whenever you go to Google and type some of the queries, what is the maximum time that you can wait? What is the maximum time that you can wait?
Few seconds.
Okay, very good. Level of patience is in terms of seconds. Okay, anyone? Any other answers? Right, so I think everybody wants to get the answer within few seconds, right? So within few seconds, and now, we are in the era of using the 5th generation network, right? So I don't think so. Even few seconds are also, need to be waited, right? So as soon as you type and press enter, immediately, right? So within fraction of seconds, right? So we'll be getting the answers, right? So, but we need to have correct answers, right? So the decisions that we are supposed to make should be very accurate, right? So, and then reduce the risk, right? So because our data, that whatever that we are going to get, right? So should be, we should be very reliable and serve customers, right? So ultimately we are all the customers, right? So the end users, right? So we need to serve their request, right? So we need to serve their request, right? So is this answer is correct? What is big data? Is this answer is correct? So this is one of the definition that is given by Forrester, as that was given by our friend Dr. Kari Guli sir. Right. So, but this is a very boring definition that you can really think of, right? So because store, right? So there is a process, there is a access, right? So and then you need to operate, right? So then you need to operate effectively, and then you need to take a decision. But while taking the decision, your risk should also be reduced, and ultimately you should be in the position of serving the end customer to the best extent, right? So then there is another researcher who have given the definition which goes like this, right? So by the Gartner, right? So who has defined as high volume, velocity, and variety information assets. Dr. Kariguli sir, I think your answer is there here. See, variety. Right. So variety of variety information assets. But I have already defined what is the difference between the data and the information. Right. So now we'll try to concentrate only on the information, but not on the data. The first and foremost thing. Right. So we are supposed to concentrate on the information, and then we'll try to consolidate this information. Right. So to define the data. Right. So then comes what is velocity, that we'll try to discuss at the later stage. But ultimately, this definition also, right, so leads towards taking the decision or making the decision to the best extent, right? So whether this definition goes fine, but this is once again a very boring, definition, right? So which is not really, maybe considered to be one of the best definition that is given. Then what, right? So orally publishers, orally publisher. Right, so that's a very famous publisher, right? So which publishes the different books in the different domains, right? So they'll give more technical, definition, right? So which says that the data is too big, right? So how much of big, whether this big or whether this big or whether this big or whether this big, that we'll try to discuss. Too big, right? So and which moves very fast, right? So which moves from one place to another place at a very faster rate, right? So and it does not fit into the existing database structure, database architecture, right? So which is really practically a tough task, right? So which is very practically a tough task to understand that in any data that we are going to consider, if it doesn't fit the database architecture, I think the 3 important points that we discussed, storage, process, and access, will become very, very difficult, right? So yes, this is also not acceptable, right? So this is not acceptable because of too many technical words, right? So too many technical words because it has used too big, right? So too fast, right? So decision making, right? So etc. etc. Right? So yes, is there any answer that you can really think of in a very interesting way, right? So just to give a very interesting answer, right? So the IBM, I think you might be knowing a company called IBM. Everybody knows IBM. Everybody knows IBM.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's International Business Mission, right? So the IBM stands for International Business Mission, right? So they have come out with a very interesting and important definition that can be given for this big data, right? So which is defined by the 3 interesting attributes, right? So we'll call it as 3V, right? So we'll call it as 3V model, right? So 3V model. What are the 3V stands for? The first V stands for volume, the second V stands for variety, and the third V stands for velocity. So volume, right? So the size, it is in terms of the size. How big, that we'll try to discuss in the next slide, right? So variety, right? So what are the different types of or the varieties of data that you have that are available? Can you explain me what are the varieties of data that are available? Anyone?
Text.
Other than Kausar, other than Dr. Kausar, other than Dr. Kariguli, anybody can answer what are the different types of varieties of data that are available in the literature? Anyone? Dr. Kavya? What are the different types of data that are available? Dr. Nishant? Nishanta TN? No? Dr. Lakshmi? Dr. Kavya? No. Dr. Krishna? I don't think so that that they are, I mean, they have connected and maybe they are in the offline. Maybe we'll just try to interact with whoever is interested. So okay, you can go on, Karikuli sir first. Dr. Neeta madam, you want to tell something?
Picture,
variety?
Sir, text, pictures, diagram.
Okay.
Graphs,
Text.
maps.
Okay, very nice.
Figures,
Graphical.
charts.
Very nice. Very nice.
Physical.
Prakash sir?
Hello, sir. Videos.
Very nice. Videos.
Images.
So text, images, videos, and then
Images.
very nice. 3. Okay, you know something called audio?
Audio, sir. Yes, sir. Audio, sir.
Audio is also a data. But
Yes,
you
sir,
all
audio.
put together, you put text,
Sir,
you
sir,
put
cartoon
image,
also. Cartoon also, sir.
yeah, you put text, you put
Pictures.
image, because whatever you have told, right? So the charts, the charts, the graphs, right? So all this will comes under the category of images, right? So all this put together, right? So that is text, images, video, audio, everything will put together, and can we call it as the multimedia data?
Sir.
Multimedia
Yes,
data. A multimedia data is a data which contains different varieties of data, right? So which are synchronized in nature. A good example is a movie that we are going to watch. That is a multimedia data, right? So because you have something called text there, you have something called audio there, you have something called video there, right? So, and depending upon the scene by scene, right? So even the locations also keeps on changes, right? So locations also keeps on changes, right? So, but under variety of data, right? So if you take only text data, right? So what are the different varieties of text data that are available?
Size or font, size, color,
No.
shape.
Different types of text data. You're telling about the characteristics of text data, but what are the different types of text data?
So symbols,
okay,
numbers,
symbols, numbers, right? So otherwise, if I talk at the superficial level,
different languages.
yeah, there is something called text data notepad.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Notepad. There is something
Excel.
called MS Word.
Excel.
Okay. There is something called Excel. There is something called PDF.
PPT.
Yes.
There is something called PPT.
File extensions, you are talking about.
Yes.
File extensions.
There is something called HTML. There is something called XML.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you just take the text itself, see, there are so different varieties of text data that are available. But if you take image, again you have .jpg, .png, BMP, right? So .tiff, right? So there are so many different varieties of images that are available. Similarly, with respect to the video, then what is velocity? What is velocity?
So speed.
Okay, the speed, the rate at which the data is communicated.
We'll get the information.
Yes, sir. Dr. Prakash, sir, you are from which place?
Sir, awesome, sir.
Okay, Asan is nearly 120 kilometers from away.
Yes,
from
sir. Yes, sir.
Mysore.
Mysore.
Right. So Asan is 120 kilometers away from here. And whatever I am telling now, as soon as I speak something, right? So within no seconds, can you hear spontaneously that what I'm speaking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, 120 kilometers, even without a single second of delay. Dr. Kausar?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
From which place?
I'm in Gundlupet, sir. It is 60 kilometers from
Yeah,
us.
it is Gundlupet, 60 kilometers. Karipuli, sir?
Gangavati, sir. Gangavati.
Gangavati, it is almost 600 kilometers from here.
No, sir. Almost 400, 450.
Mysore, yes. 450 kilometers. See, you take 60 kilometers, you take 120 kilometers, you take 450 kilometers. Right. So I think we are not facing any sorts of a delay in whatever I am communicating. Agree? So that defines the velocity. The rate at which the data reaches the end destination is basically a velocity. So this is the most widely accepted, definition that was given to a big data, right? So that was given to a big data, right? So hence, always, if anybody asks what is big data, we need to answer a big data is basically a data which is characterized by the 3 V's. One is volume, one is variety, and the other one is velocity. Okay, so this is the famous definition that is formulated by the IBM. Right. So some people say these are all basically random words, but this is the most acceptable definition. Right. So Oracle, there is another company called Oracle, but what they did was they added something called the value for volume, variety, velocity, and value. Right. So and it keeps on changes. Right. So now the big question is, right, so which definition has to be considered? Right. So which definition has to be considered? So that is the biggest question that we are facing. See. This is what actually the big data depicts, right? So see here we are just what we know about the big data is only basically at the tip of an iceberg, right? So the tip of an iceberg, but the rest is something which is huge that sits under the ocean, which we have not seen, right? So which is going to get explored, right? So which is going to get exploded, right? So in the next coming days, right? So this is how actually the big data has been depicted. See, let's look at big data in a different way now, right? So see, these are all something which is very interesting because we need to understand. Some Dr. Madam said in the very beginning, we need to quantify because Unless otherwise, if you don't quantify the things, our brain doesn't accept it. Right. So quality, how do you measure the quality? How do you measure the quality? Dr. Vani ma'am? Dr. Vani ma'am, how do you measure the quality?
By seeing its performance, sir.
Okay, performance. Dr. Varadaraj sir, you have any answer? Dr. Varadaraju? Sir, don't take it in the other way. It's just an, just to keep the class lively. I'm just calling your name. Otherwise, don't think it is like a classroom and kind of an environment that we are creating. Right. So qualitative is very toughest part. Agree, Vani ma'am?
Sir.
Qualitative analysis of data, it depends upon the individuals. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
For example, you see, you take Shah Rukh Khan. Do you like Shah Rukh Khan?
Okay, sir, partly.
Okay, but not fully. But you ask Dr. Kariguli?
By evaluating, we can.
No. Do you like Shah Rukh Khan or not?
Yes, sir. As an actor, I like him.
As an actor, he likes. You ask Prakash, sir? He don't like at all. Why? Because he is liked by most of the girls. So that is why he don't like at all.
Yes, sir.
Right. So you see the same qualitative characteristics of Shah Rukh Khan. For Vani madam, it is okay. Dr. Kariguli, as an actor, he is okay.
Right.
But Prakash sir is totally outrightly rejected. He is not acceptable. Right.
Yes,
so
sir.
this is how the qualitative data, goes, and we cannot say this is good or this is bad, because see, I like Shah Rukh Khan very much. This is my individual perception. Suppose now a student has scored 9.5 out of 10. So now you tell me whether the student is good student, average student, best student. The student has scored 9.5 out of 10. This is a quantitative data that I am giving. Now you tell me whether the student is good, bad, or satisfactory, or the best.
Academically is good, sir.
Academically is best because 9.5.
Yes, sir.
Agree? Vani ma'am?
Yes, sir.
He may be studious, sir, but not intelligent. He might have
No.
only just mugged up.
No. That is secondary. That is immaterial. We'll try to evaluate when it comes to the interview. But out of 10, he has scored 9.5. Everybody accept that he is a best student. Yes or no? That is what the actually order of, that is how what the order of the merit that they'll consider, irrespective of any interviews that you go, irrespective of any decisions that we are going to take. Acceptable?
No, sir, I am not accepting, because sometimes even the halo effect of the teacher may be there.
Yeah,
Once
that is fine, madam, because in most of the cases, I think you might have experienced, though one person is extremely good in research and has published more than 50 research articles, right? So more than 50 articles, right? So, but he'll be given a priority. Then who is another person who is extremely good and he has got only 20 research publication for the career progression? Because university is more worried about the quantification of the data, not the quality. Quality comes secondary. When he appears in front of the interview board, right? So then comes the quality. But if he wants to take place in the interview panel, university fixes, I need 50 publications. Yes or no?
No, sir.
Yes,
As
sir.
far as standard set is concerned, it must be accepted that student's performance is very good and qualitative.
Correct. Right. So quantitatively, he is best because he has scored 9.5. And how do we give the gold medal? We don't give the gold medal. He has mugged up or some teacher has, as biased, nothing. Right. So it is exclusively based upon the marks. 9.9. Irrespective of whatever the way that he writes, he has scored 9.9. So that is why we are going to award the gold medal. See, why I'm telling this is our brain is more interested in knowing the quantitative things rather than the qualitative values. Right. So hence, why I gave these examples, because we need to bring the small, a small, bridge between how this data is measured. Right. So in terms of different statistics, right. So or in terms of different quantity, right. So in terms of different quantity and how exactly it looks like. Right. So if I take one byte, right? So there is a one, I think you might be knowing byte, right? Bit and bytes. Yes or no? 1 bit and 1 byte. Everybody knows what is bit and byte? A bit is nothing but a small pixel in your screen. That is basically a bit, right? So 8 bits are put together. 8 bits are put together will make an 1 byte. So a good example is a 1 grain of a rice is basically a byte. I mean to say this 1 grain of rice as, right? So 1 grain of rice is made out of 8 different bits of the grain piece, right? So that is a byte. So what is kilobyte? Kilobyte is basically, it is a cup of rice, right? So it is a cup of rice. So megabytes, it is in terms of quintal, right? So it is in terms of bags, right? So it is 8 bags of rice, right? So we'll make an 1 megabyte. Gigabyte, right? So it is 3 semi trucks, right? So 3 semi trucks of data is basically a gigabyte. Terabyte, right? So you just see, you cannot visualize, right? So it is 2 container ships, right? So 2 container ships will make an terabyte, right? So 2 container ship will make an terabyte. And petabyte, right? So a petabyte, a blanket of Shivamogga, the entire Shivamogga district, right? So the entire Shivamogga district put together will make a petabyte of data. But exabyte, you take exabyte, right? So blanket of South India, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana, all put together, all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states put together, right? So it will make an exabyte, right? So then there is a something called zettabyte, right? So zettabyte, which fills the zettabyte, which fills the entire Pacific Ocean. But you just imagine what is the size of the Pacific Ocean, right? So this is how actually we are going to define the size of the data. Now, my question arises here, whether the data which is more than terabyte can be considered as big data, or the data which is considered more than petabyte should be considered as a big data, or exabyte should be considered as a big data. Any answer?
Sorry, anything from terabyte, the petabyte should be considered as a big data.
Okay. Okay. Any other answers? Any other answers?
Sir, kilobyte can be considered as big data, sir.
Or anything more
More
than
than
zettabyte.
one.
More than zettabyte.
Okay, but what was our definition? What did we give? It is not only with respect to the size, it is not only with respect to the volume, but these
Velocity.
a terabyte or petabyte or exabyte or zettabyte should also contain the characteristics called variety. There should be a varieties of data. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There should be a varieties of data. Then
Velocity.
velocity, right? So irrespective of whatever the amount of data that we are transferring, right? So it should reach the end user, right? So to the best, right? So to the best, right? So all this put together will make will make it as the big data, right? So what is the yottabyte? So there is another quantified value that can be used, right? So called as an yottabyte, a earth size rice ball, right? So the earth size rice ball is called as an the yottabyte, right? So now bytes and kilobytes, right? So usually it will be handled by hobbyist. Hobbyist means basically one who does the programming, right? So programming is nothing but the set of instructions that you are going to give to the computers, right? So then the megabytes to gigabytes, right? So you'll be using the desktop computer machines to handle the megabytes and gigabytes of data, right? So terabytes and petabytes of data, right? So you'll be using the internet data, right? So then exabyte and zettabyte, right? So they are considered as the big data, right? So they are considered as the big data, right? So they are considered as a big data, right? So this is how actually we'll try to categorize, right? So this is how actually we'll try to categorize, right? So by which different types of machines and the techniques that can be used, right? So in order to handle the differently quantified, right? So the differently quantified differently quantified the data values, right? So that is byte and kilobyte, right? So by hobbyist, by simple programmer, megabytes and gigabytes by the desktop computer machine, and terabyte and petabytes by the internet data, and exabyte and zettabytes by the big data, right? So, but see, big data, right? So usually, what are the source for the big data, right? So the source for the big data is basically from the Facebook, right? So it's basically from the Twitter. Now the Twitter has changed to X, right? So now the data is from the Yahoo, the data is from eBay, the data is from Amazon.com, the data is from Google, right? So all these are the very good source, right? So Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, eBay, Google, Amazon, all these are the good source, right? So all these are the good source, right? So to make or to call the data as a big data, right? So to call the data as a big data, right? So now what are we are trying to look for, right? So we are trying to look for the future, right? So future, because future still there is an existence of an yottabyte, right? So because of the increase in the use of the data, right? So the future, what is the future, right? So that we'll try to discuss, right? So what is the future, and then is there any is there are any technologies, right? So is there any technologies that are available in order to handle these kind of data, right? So maybe that we'll try to discuss in the next half of the session, along with the very small introduction of the cloud computing. I think by 11:15 we are supposed to leave for a break.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir. 11:15 to 11:45.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it 11:15 now? Now it's 11:17. So should we break for a small time, that is for 30 minutes, and we'll come back again at 11:45 to see the different ways of handling the big data and a very small introduction to cloud computing. Is it okay with that?
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Any
sir.
questions now in this session?
No, sir.